Hi, Lori Clemmons here, and welcome to part 4 of our video series on self-care for chronic illness. Thank you for joining me again today. So for today's topic, we're going to be talking about the types of self-care. Self-care is just like a huge category. What is it? And it's really different for each person. So we're going to go through the 4 types, and you can figure out what works best for you. I know when I think of self-care, I think of I need to get a haircut, go for a spa day. That's just not my thing. That's not what would encourage me. So as we go through these 4 categories, think about what works for you. What does it mean for you to take care of yourself in these areas? So the first area that we're going to talk about is physical self-care. And that's the basics of eating right, taking time to fix the right foods, getting enough rest, getting enough exercise. We really know most of these things. And of course, it's going to be different for each person depending on what it is that we're dealing with, but it takes time. And so often we can be running around trying to feed the kids that we don't have time to make good food for ourselves. Up late with the kids or working late and we're not getting good rest, and that impacts everything about the rest of our day. With self-care, if we're not taking care of ourselves, I can just be unhappy. And if I'm not happy, I'm snappy with the kids. I'm distant from my husband, my friends. Life just doesn't come together if I'm not taking care of myself in those ways. So think about physical self-care. How are you doing in that? How do you feel about that? Our second area that we're going to look at is going to be mental care. Now this one, we don't talk about it a lot, but it's really critical. Think about, when was the last time you read a book? What about started a new hobby? Even if it's just go out for a paint night with the girls. Maybe it's gardening. So just doing something besides what you barely have to do to get by. And it puts a lot of joy in our lives to be able to do things like that. Whether it's starting a new hobby or reading a book. Maybe it's researching a project that your child needs at school. But those can definitely add a lot of joy to our lives. Even though they might sound kind of frivolous, it's not. The third one to talk about is emotional self-care. Now, this is a huge one. I think even just for anybody dealing with life, we need to learn how to deal with emotions. And honestly, our culture doesn't do a very good job of that. Then you add on the fact that we're dealing with chronic health issues and wondering what are things going to be like in 5 years, in 10 years. How am I going to get such and such done in the next couple of days? And what if I end up in bed again? Things like that we need to deal with all of those emotions. If we're carrying those, we're going to be weighed down. And so we're going to talk some more about that in one of the other videos about dealing with emotional self-care. And honestly, when I think about that, I think I just need to buck up and get out there and do it. It's not the way it works. We need to take time to work on that, all right? So then the fourth area that we're going to talk about is spiritual self-care. Now, for some people, that means religious services, and that's fine. For other people, it's going to mean other things. So really, spiritual, just the meaning of looking for meaning in our lives, meaning in what we're going through, connection with something bigger than ourselves. So this may mean religious services. It might mean going for regular walks in the woods, on the beach. It might mean being part of a special community, whether it's to serve the homeless or work with underprivileged children. Maybe it's being in touch with someone who's in the early stages of your same chronic health challenges and helping them through that. But that whole idea of finding meaning in our lives. So those are the 4 areas. If you have not already downloaded the workbook, you can do so down below. There will be a link, and that's free. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye.